Hi YouTube, how are you doing? And welcome to a video where I want to cover the options in Phasmophobia. I recently had to reinstall this game on my new computer, which made me realize that the default settings in this game are actually kind of terrible. There are several things that you should absolutely change to make the game look better, to make it play better, and I thought I'd cover that all in one video so I can link to this when people ask me this question. First of all, when you start Phasmophobia, the game looks terrible because there's an option in graphics enabled by default called Bloom, which you should turn off immediately. This makes the game look extremely washed out. Look at the whiteboard now. When I turn it off, boom, so much sharper, so much better looking. I don't know why it's on by default, but that's the first thing you should turn off. But then the game looks a bit too dark in my opinion, because Bloom adds some lighting effect to it. So what I tend to do is turn up brightness to 1.5 to counteract turning off Bloom, but then not having the washed out weird effect that Bloom has. So yeah, that is how you make your game look instantly so much better. Besides that, in terms of performance, if you have issues running this game, you can turn down your resolution, which makes it run much better, and you can turn down the texture quality to even 1/8 if you really want to. It makes the game looks much worse, of course, but it does make it run much better on your computer. So if you have issues running this game, turn down those settings first, and then see if it runs better. And otherwise, you can also turn basically everything off here, but definitely start with those because they're the most heavy. So that is it in terms of graphics in my opinion. Now let's go over the rest of the settings. Next up, PC settings. The field of view by default is set to 70, which I don't know why. You should turn this all the way up to 90 for sure, unless that somehow makes you more... I heard that turning up the field of view can make you more motion sick, but I also heard the opposite. So if 90 field of view works for you, absolutely do that. You just see more of the game, makes it look much better. Look, if you turn this all the way down, look how zoomed in everything is. This is so terrible. I don't know why. This is set that way by default, so turn it all the way up, and you have a much better time looking at things. If you are a streamer or a content creator and you record your gameplay on the side, it is definitely important to turn VSync on, because if you don't turn VSync on, it will not cap your FPS, and your computer will work as hard as possible to get the highest FPS in the game, but that will completely ruin your frame rate for the recording or the stream. So if you do stuff like that, definitely turn on VSync. That's a tip from me to you as a content creator. Another thing, volumetric lighting is turned to high by default. However, there's a bug in this game that high does nothing. High is the same as off. You can turn it down to medium. However, in my opinion, if I hop into a game real quick, volumetric lighting isn't a great thing. It looks pretty bad, so I turn it... I don't use it myself. I'll show you real quick. Here, it gives you... Did I enable it? Yes. It gives you this hazy effect. You can see it in the middle. Yeah, it gives this like smoky effect. I don't know why it is that way. It doesn't look great in my opinion. It puts like a cone of smoke particles in front of your... I don't know. It just looks bad. I don't use this personally, but you could turn it on if you want. Just something to call out because it's not actually working as intended. So I'm just going to keep it on high, which turns it off. Besides that, there's a thing here called cursor brightness, which is by default set to 1. Your cursor is the thing in the middle. You can barely see that right now, right? You can barely see it, especially in the dark or like in the light. Picking up items from the floor in the game is extremely difficult with the default cursor brightness. So what I do is I turn up this all the way to 5. Just turn it all the way up. Look how much brighter, how much more easily you can see the cursor, especially picking up items in your flashlight beam. Like, it's so much easier. This should be default in my opinion here. So yeah, turn that all the way up to 5. Helps you out a lot in the game. I think local push to talk is on by default. You can decide this. I personally like... I mean, I'm a streamer, so I turn on local push to talk, especially when I'm like in a party and I'm also talking to my chat room. Then I don't want to... I want to control when I talk to the ghost and when I can talk to my chat room. But if you want the ultimate immersive experience, you can also turn off local push to talk, which will basically open your mic. You'll always be talking. You don't have... This is not a very clear setting, so that's why I wanted to cover it. Turning it off makes you always speak in the game to the ghosts, to your other teammates. Turning it on will make you assign a button that you have to press before your voice gets heard in the game. Also talking to the ghost, of course. So yeah, that is it for PC settings. Let's go to the next one, which in my opinion is the most important one. It is controls. The default controls are set kind of strange. There's several things that you, in my opinion, should absolutely change. One of them being just completely unforgivable, which is the journal. The journal by default is set to J. This is some Sesame Street kind of level shit. Why is it set to J? Look where J is on your keyboard. It's like all the way across. It's the only reason is that the journal starts with J. But yeah, what is this? J is for journal? Come on now. What? So absolutely change this. What I changed this to is tab. Tab is not used in this game, and it is a perfect journal button. You have to open the journal all the time. Helps you out a lot. I was talking about this with my on my stream, and so many people use J still to open their journals. It's like some Stockholm syndrome. They're just like accepting the fact that they have to claw all the way over their keyboard to press J. I don't know why. Change it to tab. Helps you out a lot. Might take a little bit to get used to, but man, it helps you out so much. So that, first of all, very, very important. Then I use a couple other settings as well, which are more subjective. I like local push to talk to not be V but be spacebar instead. Spacebar is really easy. My thumb rests on spacebar, so, and because you have to press local push to talk all the time, I like to use spacebar for that. And personally, I have a mouse with buttons on them, so I like to use, for global push to talk, I like to use my this forward is a key on my mouse, so I like to use a key on my mouse to basically not have to move my hand as much as possible, because I mean I play this game a lot, so making everything as easy as possible is to my personal advantage. Besides that, make sure that you know this exists, inventory swap. I think Q is a good setting for this, but a lot of people don't know and they just swap their items with the scroll wheel, but Q can be really nice for swapping your items in your inventory really quickly. Besides that, the turning on the flashlight here, flashlight T is a little bit out of reach. I personally tried tried using R because it's a little bit closer and R is not used for anything. However, a lot of people will be used to T, so this is more a subjective one. If you want to go through the trouble to get used to R, which I have been doing, even after 800 hours, I've been able to get used to R now. It's just a little bit less hand movement, a little bit less strain on your hands there. So yeah, that's it for settings for me. To recap, journal, change it immediately, and everything else that I've covered is more subjective. Next up in the settings is audio, which there's a lot of people have trouble with their microphone in this game. There are several peculiar things with the microphone in this game, and I wanted to cover them real quick. First of all, the most important setting, it says this every time you launch up the game, but some people might not see that, is that your default Windows microphone is set to the right mic. If you have your default, which is not in this game, you can set that here, you have to go to your Windows settings. If your default Windows mic is some kind of shitty webcam mic or whatever, it will not detect your mic in game, or it will use that mic to detect your voice when speaking to the ghost or when playing the game. So make sure that one is set to your best microphone you have and the one you use to talk. This microphone setting is only for talking to your friends in the game. If you're playing multiplayer, it will use this microphone, so you can separate the mic used for voice recognition with the mic used for people in your team. But yeah, so make sure the default mic is set correctly. Besides that, if you Alt-Tab in Phasmophobia, your microphone will break. This is the most common issue in Phasmophobia. Alt-Tabbing will break your voice recognition. You can still speak to your team, but the ghost, the spirit box, the Ouija board, all of these things will stop working. How do you fix this? Very important. There's two ways to fix this. Alt-Tabbing and clicking on the bottom bar of Windows, clicking on your Phasmophobia game icon to get back in is the way I've been using a lot, but there's actually an easier way to do it, is pressing the Windows key twice. If you are in the game, you press the Windows key twice, boom, your mic is fixed. Now you can talk to the spirit box again, everything works again. Very, very important. There's still some people that even that doesn't work for. If you go to the Phasmophobia Discord, there's a section, a help section that lists a bunch of common fixes, so you can look there, but this works for like 99.9% of the people that have this issue. So make sure that if you realize that your mic is not being picked up by the game, just press the Windows key twice, boom, it's fixed. Easy peasy. So that's the most important there. Alright, well that is it for my settings. I covered everything that I personally use. If you use something different, or if you have another tip, you can put it in the comments below for others to read. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope this was useful for you. If you're not subscribed, please do so. If you like the video, like it. If you dislike it, dislike it. And if you want to join the live streams, you can join us over at twitch.tv/insim every single day at 7 p.m. Central European Time. That is where I play this game live. I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye. Have a good one.